You are listening to Titletown Takes, your home for the oldest and worst in all things college and Boston sports.
Boston Red Sox and the fans through New England. I'll tell you, they were 5 outs away in the 8th inning, leading by 3 as Boone hits it to deep left. That might send the Yankees to the World Series. Boone, a hero in Game 7.
Listen to host Ian Beauchesne, Connor Powell, and Cameron Urbowicz for plenty of misery, anxiety, and most importantly, the coldest takes this side of the Mississippi.
You weren't here for my awesome playoff idea, Mike. The idea was you take the 16 teams that are in the playoffs right now and just put them in, and then the remaining teams, they get to play in a, I don't know, it's an odd number, so I don't know how they would do it, but they play in a little short tournament, and the winner gets the number 1 pick.
It's actually not bad. I kind of like
No,
that.
Mike,
Come on now.
No.
Get out of here.
These two guys were like, it's a horrible idea. It's nice
I
to see
kind of
somebody-
like that. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
On today's show, we talk about our thoughts on the MLB paying their minor league players, the NHL rinks we've attended, the most recent NHL Players Association poll, the up-to-date USCHO college hockey simulation, and finally, the least anticipated bag of fun questions of the night.
Bag of fun, bag of fun. Everybody's ready for the bag of fun. Question of the night. Cameron, what do we got?
To listen, download the TuneIn app, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on Twitter at Titletown_takes.
Titletown Takes back on the air. It is Tuesday, March 31st, but when you're tuning into this, hopefully on YouTube, enjoying your third week of quarantine lockdown, it'll be officially into the month of April. It'll be April Fool's Day. Ian Beauchesne alongside Connor Powell, Cameron Urbowicz, and joined once again by Mike McMahon from the Mack Report and the Lawrence Eagle Tribune. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me back. A special remote broadcast. Look at this.
What a weird thing this is.
Yeah, no kidding.
Not as fun or entertaining as the studio we had a couple of weeks ago when we had you on, but it gives us
Does
something
the job
for a little hour, right? So, anybody got any good opening takes they want to start with here? We'll just open it up to whoever.
What I will say is it's kind of refreshing. We went through a time at the start of this whole quarantine thing where there was just no sports news. But now we're slowly starting to get at least a little bit of stuff to talk about. So I will say it's easier to do this podcast nowadays as opposed to like a week and a half ago. I don't know if that's just me or you guys feel the same way.
It's definitely nice because the first couple of times we were doing this remotely, we had nothing to talk about, and we were just kind of, just chatting for not even an hour. It was more about 47 minutes about nothing. It was like an episode of Seinfeld. And now it's a lot easier considering, the NFL draft's coming up and they're still holding that, at least right now. And then, that's really the only thing going on, but it's nice to just have people talk about sports just in general.
Yeah, talk about things that are they ever going to come back?
Right.
Which was the topic for a while. So yeah, at least there's something to talk about, which is always good. And it seems like we'll see when they do it, but it seems like all the leagues are at least trying to get plans put in place for how to return and what it will look like. I heard something on the radio today when I was in my car about what the NHL might do and what Major League Baseball might do as far as how is the schedule going to work? Are they just going to cancel games that already were supposed to happen, like baseball? Are they just going to cancel games that already were supposed to happen and just pick up on June 15th or July 1st at where they are in the schedule, or will they rework the schedule to make sure you get, X amount of divisional games? I think they'd have to rework the schedule, but at least there's talk about that stuff now with what are the plans going to be for when they come back, as opposed to just when are they coming back?
Yeah, I think, like you said, Mike, the biggest thing is going to be, obviously, are they coming back, or what the seasons are going to look like as far as how they play out. We talked the other day, and we kind of had a thought, if we see sports back, more specifically, if we see the NHL back this season, Mike, when do you think we see National Hockey League back in action, if we do at all?
Beginning of June.
Okay, there we go.
Yes, that's what I said.
June.
Yeah. Oh wait,
Yeah,
no.
early-
June's what we needed, right?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
said
I said July.
yeah.
Yeah, I think early June. I think you got to scrap the regular season. I
Just
don't know how you. Yeah, just take your teams that were playoff teams and do some type of modified playoff starting from the beginning of June. Whether that's best of 3, best of 5.
I think best of 5.
Cam, you want to tell Mike
great.
about your great idea?
You weren't here for my awesome playoff idea, Mike. The idea was you take the 16 teams that are in the playoffs right now and just put them in, and then the remaining teams, they get to play in I don't know, it's an odd number, so I don't know how they would do it, but they play in a little short tournament, and the winner gets the number 1 pick.
It's actually not as bad. I kind of like
No,
that.
Thank
Mike,
you.
come on now.
No.
Get out of here.
These 2 guys were like, it's a horrible idea. It's nice
I
to see
kind of
somebody-
like that. I'm not gonna lie.
Or if maybe not if not the first overall pick, another first round pick. Put it right in
Or
the
something
middle.
where you could do a sandwich pick, or you could do something where you can't improve your pick by more than 5. So you don't have
I
the
like
team.
that. better.
The team that isn't 15th can't shoot up to 1, but they could go from 15 to 10 or something. I don't know. You could. There's ways to. I mean, that's kind of like how the lottery is, right?
Yeah.
Teams can move up a certain number of picks. You could just do instead of picking balls, you could actually have a tournament to determine lottery seeding.
Imagine being the Red Wings, though, in that competition, just be like you have a terrible year, and then you lose that competition first game. It's just like, well, there goes Alexi Lafreniere. He's gone.
Detroit doesn't deserve Alexi Lafreniere anyway. They had 25 good years. Take a bit of a break.
No, I think for as far as hockey markets are concerned,
Yeah.
Detroit's one of those markets that you need to see get back to some sort of relevancy in the National Hockey League.
Yep.
Obviously original 6 franchise, and it's like
They picked a terrible time to build a new building. I'll tell you that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, again, that building was set to be the host for the 2020 Frozen Four.
Yeah.
I just canceled my flight this morning. I was supposed to leave
man.
on Tuesday.
Oh.
A week from today. I was holding off because I was trying to get reimbursed for it, and that's not going to happen. So, but I'm going to at least get credit so I can
That's
Use it
good,
for
at
a
least.
future flight.
Yeah, honestly,
Next year's.
probably next year.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So, well, while we're on the topic, let's jump into the simulations that have been happening via USCHO.
Oh, yeah.
Fighting Sioux 23 is the gentleman or lady. We're not going to assume who it was because, everybody wants to use the internet and hide behind an identity. So Fighting Sioux 23 has been publishing simulations not only for the 2020 NCAA Division I Men's Hockey Championships, but also the remaining of conference play as well. Mike, I don't know if you were following along with the simulations and whatnot online.
Yeah, I was following that one, and then we actually at CHN we did one too. So we had our own. I don't know how they compared though. I know who our Frozen Four teams ended up being.
Okay,
I heard from a lot of people complaining about it all weekend.
Okay, so the Frozen Four that was simulated via Fighting Sioux 23. The semifinal number 1 would be Boston College and Minnesota State Mankato.
Exactly what we had.
And the second semifinal is North Dakota and Ohio State after they knocked off the 2-time defending national champion Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs in the opening round before beating Denver.
That's interesting. So our
final.
bracket was a little different. I think they simulated conference tournaments. I think
They did.
Yes.
Yep.
to get pairwise as it was whenever it ended. We had 3 out of the same 4 teams. We had North Dakota, UMass in the Worcester regional final. We had BC beating Cornell in the final. Minnesota State beat Penn State in the Allentown final, and Denver beat Arizona State in the Loveland final. But Arizona beat Duluth in the first round, our simulation too. So we were actually using a video game to do ours.
Oh,
We
really?
were using it's not scientific. We were using Eastside Hockey Manager, which is an old.
Oh, I
hockey-based
love that
simulation
game.
Oh, it's
yeah.
awesome. And someone did a roster update for 1920 that included every pro team, every major junior team, every college team. Like, it was an insane – it wasn't perfect. There were some names in there where it's like, oh, well, that guy signed and they didn't take him out. So it wasn't perfect, but we tried to take those guys out before we simulated the games, but that's what we used. It was kind of a painstaking process.
Yeah. Well, you said Hockey Manager is a slow game, so it takes a while.
Yeah,
Also,
and we had to set it up as 16 different GMs and then arrange game. It was like it took hours to – and then after it took hours to set it up, the first simulation I ran was a Penn State game, and Michael Barnaby – is it Michael Barnaby? Matthew Barnaby's kid? Matthew Barnaby's kid was supposed to go to Penn State and ended up leaving Penn State, but I had never taken him off the roster. And, of course, in their first game, he scored 2 goals. And I was like, oh, he's on the team.
So you had to restart it.
I had to do the whole thing all over again.
So
my buddy did a quick thing. He does a thing with all of us with ECHL Hockey Manager. He put me and a couple of other buddies in the game, and he put me on Merrimack, and I was absolutely awful. He put me as a goalie, and I could not stop a beach ball. He was messaging me. He's like, Cam, you got a 5 goals against average. What are you doing? And I'm like, make me better. And he's like, no. That's what you have. Yeah, it was pretty brutal. All right.
So Mike, based off of your, we'll look at CHN's bracketology and how they had it broken down. How do you see anything that may have changed? Obviously, video games and simulations are going to differ, from playing games outright. Do you think that maybe a team in Duluth maybe doesn't lose in the first round if these games were actually played out?
Yeah, I have a hard time believing Duluth would have lost in the first round for sure.
Thank you, Mike.
I also think that Cornell would have fared better because at least in our simulation, Cornell lost to BC in the regional final 4-3.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how many times Cornell gave up 4 goals all year. It may have been 0.
Yeah, because their goaltender had a streak of 3 straight shutouts or something close to that, right? He had a couple.
Once.
Yeah,
I'm looking here. 1 game. They had 2 losses all year. 23-2-4. They gave up more than 4 goals once, and it was
that's
at Quinnipiac.
so crazy.
But
the likelihood of them giving up 4 goals in a regional final, I would say, is pretty slim. But hey, the computer said what the computer said.
But if you're going to look at it on the other side of the coin, right? If any team was going to be able to do it to a Cornell team, it would have been this year's BC team with the offensive weapons that they had.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Especially the way they were playing down the stretch.
Yeah. And actually it's kind of crazy because, you get news over the course of the last week or so, right? With guys signing and going pro, or then guys that are announcing that they're going to be coming back. And sounds like BC's loading up again for next year because they want to go back out and do what they did this year and kind of finish the season the way that they thought it should have gone.
Yeah, I think all the freshmen are coming back. I don't know that that's official. That's what I had kind of heard, and I know that that's been out there as well. So Newhook, Matt Boldy, and Spencer Knight. Spencer Knight is really the big one.
Yeah.
Because they're going to find guys – even if Newhook signed, not that you replace 42 goals from a freshman, but 42 points from a freshman, but I think you would have found a way to get points. I mean, it's Boston College. There's going to have guys that score points. Even last year, their biggest issue wasn't really – scoring. They didn't score nearly as much as they scored this year, but it wasn't really the number one issue on their team. I think they would have found enough goals. Knight's the big one. I mean, here's a freshman that was arguably the best goalie in the country, and he comes back. You add that to probably the best freshman forward in the country, and he comes back, and along with other guys that they're going to bring in. I mean, it's potentially scary. You never know how recruits kind of line up, but I'm pretty sure I'd have to look at neutral zone where we have them ranked, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were a top 10 recruiting class again for next year. They tend to be pretty regularly in there.
So you talk about it, right? So as of right now, Logan Hutsko's coming back along with Boldy, Knight, and Newhook. As far as Knight's concerned, do you think we see him go to the World Juniors once again and kind of develop a little bit more on the international stage again?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, I would think so. That would kind of make the most sense. I'd have to look at Newhook's age. I wonder if Newhook's is Can Newhook go back again? He probably can, right? Because he'll be 19 next year. What year is
because it's under. It's under. 20.
He's an 01, so yeah, he should be able to go back and play again for Canada as well. So I think all those guys will go. I think Knight, Newhook, Boldy, all the guys that went last year more than likely go again. And I don't see how they wouldn't unless something happened. Newhook got cut.
He got cut?
Newhook, I believe, got cut from – yeah, he was one of the last cuts from Team Canada. So imagine that. The kid was probably the best freshman forward in college hockey. Team Canada cut. He was one of the last cuts before the tournament started.
Oh, maybe they'll open up their eyes and, realize what he did their second half of the year here in Hockey East and say, okay, maybe we keep him around despite, them going on to win World Junior Gold anyways.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this, there was one game. Yeah, one game in the second half of the season where he did not have a point.
Yeah.
That was it. So, yeah, they might be – even though you said they won, but, I mean, I think a guy like that doesn't hurt. So that's surprising. I would imagine he'd better be a lock for that team now. I mean,
yeah.
Mike, I got a quick question for you. So I don't know how much you really know about these two players, but the Bruins signed two college prospects, Jack Ashan out of St. Cloud State, and then we saw him come up and play at Merrimack. Nick Wolf out of Duluth, the big man on D, their captain. Just any thoughts on those two players?
Two totally different players.
Yeah.
But really good in their own right. I think both of them probably play in the NHL at some point, just because the Bruins do a really good job of recognizing college free agents. They don't do a great job all the time of drafting.
No.
They made some mistakes there. But
just,
college free agents.
Couple.
Yeah, college free agents they seem to do a pretty good job on. Like Torrey Krug is the shining example, obviously, and Akan from St. Cloud State is kind of similar to Krug, smaller defenseman, offensive. He's quick. I know some of the issues that he's had has been in the D zone, which you could also say about Torrey Krug at times. But he can score goals and he can produce points. He's 103 points. I'm looking at now 103 points as a defenseman in 4 years of college hockey. So he's been able to score. He's had more than 20 points in all four of his years, and 34 points last year when St. Cloud was really loaded up and was one of the better teams in the country. So I think he's a guy that they'll be able to plug and play at some point. They're probably hoping for another Krug. I don't know that he's got the same skill set that Krug has, but he's similar. And then Wolf is –
He's a big boy.
Yeah, he's a beast.
We saw what he did. We saw what he did to Tyler Irvine.
Oh, murdered him.
Yeah, he's big. He's mean. He's been a captain at every level. So he's a guy that isn't going to score a lot of points, but he'll live as your fifth defenseman, assistant captain. I think he's a guy that'll end up being. We'll look back at the end and be like, "Wow, he played 15 years in the NHL. How'd that happen?" But
yeah,
Brooks Orpik. He's very much. He reminds me a lot of Brooks Orpik. Just not going to score a ton of points, but big, mean, can play defense, and he's going to wear a letter.
Yeah, I think that's a good representation.
I was thinking like Carlo as well in the future potentially.
Yep.
So, Mike, you wanted to bring up the neutral zone as far as recruiting classes is concerned. BC did not land inside the top 10.
Oh, really?
The only Hockey East team that landed inside the top 10 is the other team on ComAv and the Terriers of Boston University. Okay. They came in at 7. Other teams in the top 10.
And we'll update those too. Like those will get bounced around as we find out who's getting pushed off to later years and who's not. So those might change a little bit, but I can look to see where exactly BC is.
So right now the top 10, we'll just run it through for people. Penn State comes in at number 10, followed by Michigan State and Wisconsin. So you get three Big Ten programs right inside the top 10. Followed by BU, as I mentioned, the lone Hockey East team. Minnesota, another Big Ten team, comes in at number 6. Here's a little bit of a shock for me, and there's another one that comes up too. Both of them out of the NCHC. Colorado College comes in at number 5. Followed by Arizona State. They have the number 4 recruiting class.
Ooh.
Followed by Western Michigan, so kind of another surprise NCHC team.
Those will change, though, and I can tell you why. So the algorithm that we use at Neutral Zone takes it's essentially the impact of a class. So the more players you have in the class, it's going to skew your ranking. Merrimack was in the top 10 this year because of sheer number
Their
of freshmen.
whole team was
because they had 16, 17 freshmen.
Exactly. So that's going to be an impactful class just because of the numbers. I'm looking here. Arizona State currently, Western Michigan and Arizona State each currently have 17 listed players in the class, and Colorado College has 19. There's no way that actually happens. So once we find out who's getting pushed off and who's getting cut and all that other stuff, we'll adjust those lists, and then they'll probably slide down accordingly, because I'll take Colorado. There's no way Colorado College is bringing 19 players. That's impossible. No. But also only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only 5 of those are 4 stars and above. So as some of those guys kind of drop down, you'll see them drop down the list. Those 3 in particular, Western, Arizona State, and Colorado College, are there because of just the number of kids that are still technically on their 2020 list, because we don't know who's getting pushed off yet.
So we talk about obviously classes, coming in, but let's shift here a little bit to some guys that have left. We'll look more so inside of Hockey East, and I'm looking at your piece the other day, Mike, about some of the guys that have left UNH, UMass, and BU. Obviously, Trevor Zegras was the big name that USA Hockey was familiar with from his U.S. World Junior tournament this year. He kind of lit it up as the second half of the regular season went along. He signed his entry-level contract with the Anaheim Ducks, and kind of just take us through, some of the other key pieces that have left some of the programs, and Gildon up at UNH, Mitchell Chafee out at UMass.
Yeah, those are the big. I mean, they're all big ones, right? I think Gildon was really underrated at UNH. I think he was a leading scorer for 2 or 3 straight years. He was their leading scorer this year, and I think he was their leading scorer last year too, and that's as a defenseman. So he was a big part of what they were doing, and they were just kind of getting going in the right direction this year, especially in the second half. So he's going to be a big loss. Swayman's obviously a big loss at Maine. Chafee's scored 1 million goals. He's a big loss. And then Tyler Madden signed with LA yesterday, and that's a big one for Northeastern, although Northeastern's kind of at that point now where you almost think, like, who they're just going to find the next guy, because we could have said this when Kevin Waugh left. We could have said this when Aston Reese signed. We could have said this when Dylan Sakura signed Gaudette. And it's like all of a sudden Gaudette signed, and here comes Tyler Madden, right? So
and then also, Hayden, what's his name? Ruck, the goaltender, and then all of a sudden you had Caden Primo come in, and now all of a sudden he's gone. And then they got lucky enough this year where Pantano used his last year of eligibility and kind of transferred in and kind of kept them, above water.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like a BC and a BU at this point. They just seem to be finding guy. They're just finding the next guy. Like they're losing Tyler Madden, and that's a blow, but you got to figure somebody's going to step up, whether it's a freshman next year or whether it's whether it's one of these younger guys who was kind of in the shadows of Madden, whether it was like a Zach Solo or Aiden McDonough had a really good freshman year. So somebody like that, somebody's going to step up and take those points, and they're at that point now where it happens every year.
I'll tell you one guy I'm going to keep an eye on is Tyler Harris. Obviously, he's a local Haverhill, Mass kid. He kind of impressed me down the stretch. I mean, he struggled a little bit early on as far as kind of figuring out how to move the puck with some consistency. But in the 2 games I saw him this year, he got better as the year went along. And I think he's going to be definitely someone that Northeastern will rely on, especially on the back end moving forward.
Yeah, I remember watching his brother play a lot too. His brother's a goalie. I don't know where he ended up. Let me try to look here. He was supposed to go to Brown, and I don't think he ever ended up at Brown. I think he's at Endicott. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Brother was a really good goalie at Austin Prep, though. There was one of the years at Austin Prep was knocking on the door and maybe winning a Super 8. He was the goalie.
Well, let's just shift back to Merrimack here. We'll wrap up with the college hockey talk, and then we'll move on to a couple of the other things we have lined up on the agenda. As far as Merrimack's concerned, obviously, they finished outside of the playoff picture, but you got to think with some of the guys that are going to be coming back. Pat Kramer's going to be coming back. That was announced a couple of weeks ago once the season came to an end. How do you see this Merrimack team lining up next year once the puck drops? Hopefully, puck drops on the 2020-21 season in Hockey East.
Yeah, so I was looking at this the other day because I was trying to write something on what next year's lines could look like. I'm just trying to figure out who's going to be where, what could this possibly look like, and they got a lot of guys. Like they got a lot of guys that can play. If all these guys are healthy, especially up front, there's going to be question marks over who's in and out of the lineup because
their center depth is absurd next year.
Yeah. Especially with Kramer coming back.
Yeah, and the big name that's going to be coming in is Forsmark.
Yeah,
right.
And that's a good thing. People forget about him because Mark Hillier had a great year. Alex Jeffries had a great year. They're going to make impacts right away in that forward group. They're even Jacob Lee. Those are all three of those freshmen could be top 6 players right away. And you're also adding Philip Forsmark, who was probably going to be your number 1 center this year. So he's another one. So you got four guys. So 4 out of your top 6 could be new players. And then you also got to include, Kramer and Seifert into that mix, who were really up for the whole year. That's almost your entire top 6 that were not in the lineup this year, despite how many freshmen they had. The defense, I think, is we know what the defense is. There's not going to be any new additions there. Nobody's leaving, so I think we know what that group's going to look like, and it's a pretty solid group. I really like the depth at forward, especially if everybody can stay healthy. I think they got a good mix of those skilled guys up front, and then the bottom 6, the 3rd and 4th line, whether it's Mack Welsher or Connor Lovett, who's coming in, who's really quietly falling under the radar because he doesn't score a ton of points. He just works his tail off. I think he's going to play right away, and Ben Brar being there, Regan Kimmins, those types of guys. And I think I like their forward depth, and I like their forward depth even in the top 6 with their skill. I think their D is solid. The biggest question mark is going to be goaltending. It's been that way for the last 2 years. If one of the goaltenders here this year can take a step, that's what they need. They either need Coburn or Hudema to take a big step and be a goalie that has like a 9-10 save percentage, or Zach Borgiel needs to come in as a freshman and lock down the job. Or it could be somebody else. I still think they're in the market for a grad transfer potentially. I know that there's a couple of goalies floating around in the portal right now. So if that happens,
who are a couple of those names at the moment that have been kind of floating around as far as goaltenders are concerned in the transfer portal?
So the one that I'm interested in the most is Robbie Beydoun out of Michigan Tech. He had a really good junior career, and the other thing is he's played a little bit the last couple of years at Michigan Tech. He's just been stuck behind a guy who they got as a transfer out of Wisconsin. So Matt Jurasik was a transfer out of Wisconsin. He's kind of been the guy they've leaned on the last 2 years, and Beydoun's been behind him. But Beydoun had a .931 save percentage 2 years ago in 18-19.
Jeez. I like that.
12 games. In 12 games. Like, it wasn't like that's a third of the season.
Yeah,
he only got in 5 games this year, again, because Jurasik had locked down the job. But he had a .920 save percentage and a .232 goals against this year. So last 2 years combined, he's played 17 games, which is half a season, and he's got about a .925 save percentage. And he had good numbers in junior hockey too, and I know he's in there. So there's a couple of schools that are in on him. He's one that's definitely interesting. I think he's the most interesting of the ones that are in the portal right now. There's a couple of other goalies in there. There's some there's been rumblings about some others as well. There's one of I think there's a sophomore goalie from Denver who I don't think is in the portal, but there's rumors he could be, and he hasn't played a ton. But Beydoun's the big one. I mean, I think he's a guy that can come in and play. If they do that, they're not going to carry 5 goalies. So if you do that, somebody's probably going to go. I don't think, though, the way they are right now with Borgiel and then the 3 sophomores, I could see them rolling with 4 because that's not unprecedented. Other teams have had 4 goalies, especially if you've got at least 2 of them that aren't on scholarship. That's the big thing. It doesn't matter how many guys are there. It's how many guys are on money. I think most teams, and Merrimack included, probably invest 2 full scholarships into 2 of your goalies. So as long as that's still the case, whether you get 3 or 4, whatever, it's not really, there's not much of a difference there. But yeah, so I think they're in the market. They need a goalie to step up. Ultimately, that's going to decide the season. I think they're going to score enough goals. They'll probably somewhere between 2.5 and 3 goals a game. It's going to be, can they give up less than that?
So we'll go from guys that know they're going to be playing next year to some news that came out, obviously, with the whole COVID-19 situation. The NCAA came out yesterday and announced that they are going to grant another year of eligibility for spring sport season athletes that lost the large portion, you can say, obviously, with spring sports not really starting up till the end of February, beginning of March. So for like lacrosse, baseball, softball, especially at Merrimack, those are the big ones. Anybody have any opening thoughts on that and how that was handled by the NCAA?
Well, what I will say is the Merrimack College Warriors are still your reigning Division II national champions.
Yeah.
Very true.
Something to note.
3 years running now?
Yeah. But, I mean, I think it's good. I don't know how many players will actually do it because I know there's a lot of, writing on the wall and money and stuff like that. But I think it's good that they're at least giving them the opportunity to come back and play. And you look at a guy like Charlie Bertrand from Merrimack in particular, who's a senior and has been insane throughout his career. So if I know he's getting looked at by, the Major League Lacrosse and, whether he wants one more year of growth because he didn't play this year or whether he just wants to go. I think that's an interesting conversation we can have down the line and see how that pans out. But I think at the end of the day, I think it's good for all the players who maybe will get the opportunity to just get one more year to play the sport they love, because not all players are like Bertrand where they will get to go play at the next level. This is it for them. So I think that's going to be a good thing for players like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks, guys.
You can't always trust the NCAA to do the right thing, but they did here. I was glad to see they did that. And they'll work. You can work out the money. They also, I think, they made some concessions on roster caps too. Some of the sports, like a baseball's got a roster limit. Those are relaxed for a year as long as it's a senior that's coming back. So they did what they could do to make sure, like you said, the kids that want to have a chance to play still can. And not everybody will get up. Some guys, whether it's Bertrand who's going to potentially go play pro, or whether it's a guy that says, hey, I already got a job lined up at wherever, X and X bank or something. Yep. They may not take the opportunity, but at least they have the option if they want it.
Yeah. So Cameron?
I think it's a good thing. I feel a little bad for the winter and athletes, because they didn't get a chance to properly finish their season, but I can understand why they're not given the same concessions that the spring athletes are given. But, that's just how things work out sometimes,
Yep.
Not really much to say.
Yeah, so we'll truck along here. We'll go from college sports to minor league. The MLB came out today, and this is from Jeff Passan on Twitter. Quote, all minor league players will be receiving $400 a week from Major League Baseball teams through at least May 31st. Sources have confirmed with ESPN. They'll also receive medical benefits as well, and the league is expected to make an announcement at some point soon. Cam and Connor, I know we talked about this a little bit the other day as far as what kind of effect all the COVID-19 situation would have on minor league baseball programs across the country. I think this is a positive thing to talk about in a time where we see so much negativity surrounding this situation. I think Major League Baseball and then those affiliated with minor league baseball handle this properly. These are guys that are, again, they're looking to make a name for themselves. They're trying to come up through the system and eventually get up to earn that big payday that we see guys, like Mookie Betts looking to get, like Mike Trout. You can name players left and right, but I think this is a step in a good positive direction for Major League Baseball, especially where there have been so many question marks as far as what they're going to do with the rest of their season.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think it was a turning point for minor league baseball, because I think if they kind of let this play its course, I think it could have been really bad for minor league baseball, and I think we could have seen a lot of teams get thrown under the rug and just really they could have just canceled a lot of teams. But I think it's it's good that they're paying the players. I mean, they don't get paid a lot anyway, so they'll get their paychecks while they're not playing, and I think it's good to to see some of the leagues stay afloat too?
I think I'm happy that these minor league players are getting paid because they don't get paid anything anyway. But I like how they're keeping the benefits on as well. But I think the amount is an absolute joke. $400 for 2 months isn't going to be enough for any of these guys to save up or have for a significant amount of time, especially since we don't even know if we're going to be able to play baseball this year. I think the MLB has to step up and make – I mean, especially like – I know not every team has the same amount of money, so it's hard. But, like, $400 is not enough.
It's $400 every 2 months?
It's $400 for 2 months every week. So you're ending up at what?
Essentially like $1,600 if you get a full 4 week.
Yeah, so
month.
$3,200 over 8 months. That's what you're ending up with.
I
if
thought
there's
you
no
were
tax.
saying it was $400 every 2 months. I was
no.
like, they're getting paid like $2,500 for a year. That ain't it.
But no, I think that I like what they're doing, but I think the amount is horrible. And that's my opinion.
Mike?
Good opinion.
I wonder, and it probably varies by player. I wonder how much they generally get paid if they play. Do we know what that? Has anyone said what that was?
Let me see if I can look up I'm going to look up the minimum salary from minor leaguers. Hold on, or at least.
Because I didn't know much about how this worked actually until Ryan O'Rourke, the pitcher from Merrimack, started to go through the system and how you got guys who are basically living on their signing bonuses, right, for the most part. So I don't know what they would usually make, but I'm sure it's not $400 a week. It's got to be more than that. I'm sure they're not just giving them their full
MLB to
salary.
raise minor league salaries for 2021 season.
Yeah, I just saw that same thing too here, Cameron.
So, oh geez,
Not good.
So the minimum, at least, or whatever, the minimum salary for rookie short season is $400. Single A is $500. Double A is $600, and Triple A is $700.
So they're paying them the minimum.
You're paying
Yikes.
So if you're in Triple A for a whole year, that's $1,400 over 5 months.
No. AAA players can earn $14,000.
My bad.
For their 5-month season, and short season players can earn $4,800 for their 3-month season.
Yeah, I think it speaks to a larger issue with minor league baseball, where like these guys just don't get paid at all.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why people sit there.
MLB's gone to court for years keeping the pay down.
Yeah, I know, because that's been a big thing with hockey at times, where people are like, "Oh, why are these guys?" Even Merrimack. Like people say to me with players that leave Merrimack and go, "Oh, they're going to go play in the ECHL." Like, why would they do that? Well, guess what? Because there's a professional hockey union that's outside of the NHLPA, which is like a professional hockey players union or something. Guys in the EHL can make like $35,000 a year, like enough to live off of, especially where it's an 8-month season or it's even less. It's like September to these guys aren't going through long training camps, so they're not even September. They're probably October to April. So it's like a 6 or 7 month season, and they're making $30,000 or $35,000, and then they're working in the off season. So that's at least you can live off of that. You can make that work. $14,000 a year to play AAA baseball. You're not. I don't know how you're even paying your rent based on that.
Yeah, you talk about the ECHL guys, not making a whole lot. Did you guys see about what Barstool and the guys from Spit and Chicklets are doing?
I did.
Yeah,
that was cool.
So I think, but especially the guys in Spit and Chicklets, obviously, because you have Witt and you got Biz, 2 guys that have played and they know what it's like.
All levels.
Yeah. They know what it's like to have to rely on money at different points during your career. Obviously, Witt refers to the A as the always hungry league, because, you're on buses more than you're not, you're getting paid the minimum, and, food is, it's not up to the NHL standard. Well, you're not getting buffets and stuff like that in the locker room after whatever. And, it's tough. So again, when you talk about these guys that are going through the systems, whether it's the MILB, whether it's the guys in the ECHL trying to make their way up to the AHL, whatever, you name it. It's just, when you look at the grander scheme of things right now, you got to think about all those people that are living paycheck to paycheck more so now than ever. And, it's good to see people like, the MLB and stuff that are coming together that have a little bit more money and, trying to sprinkle some of that all around so everybody can, at least be taken care of at this time.
Meanwhile, Mike Trout's almost making $70,000 in at bat.
Yeah. Which is
Pretty
absurd.
crazy. It's a lot of money.
So, again.
All that for 0 playoff wins.
So, yeah, the MILB will be or the Major League will be paying all minor league players $400 a week through May 31st or the start of their seasons, whichever comes first, along with additional medical benefits as well. You fellas want to talk some football?
It's football
Sure.
time. And the game is on.
Oh, geez, that's a reference.
So,
Shut up, Matt.
Yeah.
Mike, did you see the news this morning about the Dolphins trying to make a little bit of news? They want to potentially trade up for the number 1 overall pick.
Of course they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did not see that. No.
Yeah. So Dolphins looking to make a move for the number 1 pick. They want Joe Burrow badly. 3 weeks ago, Miami Herald reporter Armando Salguero reported the Dolphins were going to try and trade up to the top spot to draft Burrow. The Dolphins need a quarterback. Most mock drafts don't include trades, have them considering Tua Tagovailoa with the 5th overall pick. So, I mean, they wouldn't be jumping up from, say 14 or 15 to 1, but they have a decent spot to land a good quarterback. They have 15 draft picks in the top.
Oh, yeah, it's a thing.
I forget where I saw it. It was, crap. Now I lost the story that I had. But they have like 7 or 8 draft picks in the top, like 60 or 70 picks alone. Go ahead, Connor.
Well, I would compare this to the Bruins. What was it, 2017? And they had the 13, 14, 15 overall picks? 2016 maybe?
Yeah.
2016 draft,
16.
yeah.
And there was so much talk during that draft about, what are the Bruins going to do? Are they going to package 2 of the picks, keep 1? Are they going to package all 3 to move up? Or there was a bunch of different circumstances just staying put. But I think it's pretty similar for the Dolphins where they want to go up. I remember, I think it was Aaron Ekblad was up in that, or Noah Hannafin was one of those 2 guys. And I know the Bruins wanted him really bad, but they didn't end up getting him. But I think it's a very similar circumstance for Miami where they have a bunch of draft picks that they could package in the right deal to Cincinnati. I don't know if Cincinnati's just like, it's Joe Burrow, we're not moving. That's probably what I would do if I was Cincinnati, but who knows? I think it's very similar to the Bruins, though.
Yeah, I found the piece here. It says Miami owns a hefty 14 picks in this year's draft, including 6 in the top 70. 6
a lot.
in the top 70, including 2 in the first and 2 in the second.
Wow.
So you group those 4 and try, I guess. At least that would be the idea.
And it depends on what you want if you're Miami, right? Do you want all the new rookies coming in that are decently high draft picks? Do you trust your scouts? Do you trust your draft rankings or whatever it is? Do you trust that? Do you trust your team that much to keep your picks, or do you just go with the number 1 overall draft pick consensusly? It's really, Brian Flores is going to have to make a decision there, I would say.
Also, if you're Josh Rosen, how awful must you feel like this? Arizona didn't want
Yeah.
you. Miami got you. You may think, fresh start. Now it's like, now they don't want you probably. It's like that kid's confidence must be shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
That's the name of the game, though.
Yep.
He'll end up in New England and be Belichick's reclamation project. Josh Rosen
Yeah.
will win a Super Bowl in 4 years.
Of course he will. It's just how it goes, right?
Yeah.
No, these guys are on the Stidham train.
Yeah. they are.
So-
God bless Jared Stidham.
I
God
am
bless his
all
arm.
I am all in on the Jared Stidham train right now.
God bless
I'm
his
not,
arm.
so
Shocker.
someone's got some.
Shocker.
Yeah, I always play contrarian to you too. So
Yeah, Cam brings the
Someone's gotta do it.
negativity.
somebody's got to do it.
Mike, what are what are your thoughts as far as Jared Stidham taking over the reins? Obviously, there are some really big shoes to fill after Brady.
Yeah.
But, what are your general thoughts as far as Jared Stidham taking over potentially as a signal caller? I mean, I know they brought in Brian Hoyer as well.
Yeah. Back to the beginning, I have no problem with them letting go of Tom Brady. I know that is seen as sacrilegious to some, but this guy's 43 years old. They needed to dump a bunch of other guys. They weren't winning anyway the next year or the year after, more than likely. Mm-hmm. So, and I also don't know why this was a big surprise. Like, Belichick has done this for years. Yeah. He makes a decision that's best for the organization. It's why he wanted to move on from Brady a couple of years ago and keep Garoppolo. Yep. He's always done that. He's always taken emotion out of it and made the decision that he felt was best for the organization. So I had no problem with that. I don't know that Jared Stidham's the guy that's going to replace him, and for the long term, he's going to be the guy that replaces him next year. But is he the solution long term? We'll see. I have my doubts. But at the same time, there's nobody else. I don't think it's worth going out there right now and getting Jameis Winston or Cam Newton either. So
yeah, Cameron. Yeah, Cameron.
I just don't think it's worth dumping $20 million into one of those guys when realistically you're probably better off seeing if Stidham has something there. And if he doesn't, you get a really good draft pick next year and you have $120 million in cap space next year and you reload a year from now. That's probably that's the way I would play it.
Coming from a Florida State fan who watched Jameis Winston bring a national title to FSU during his second of 2 seasons, he was great, whatever, when he was there, but his talent has just not transferred from.
But he got his eyes fixed.
Yeah, hopefully, maybe.
Yeah, that's the answer.
Maybe next year.
That was my favorite part of the whole thing.
Oh, my God.
He didn't want to do it. He was afraid of having LASIK, and then did it because the Bugs were basically like, you have to.
And then they shipped him off.
They got rid of him anyway.
Maybe next year he'll throw 29 picks as opposed to 30.
Imagine if he got the surgery and threw more. That'd be funnier.
It's hard to throw more than 30 interceptions, though. I got to look that up.
The crazy thing is he also led the NFL in passing yards.
Yeah, that's absurd.
He threw 30 interceptions and he led the league in passing. Oh, it's insane.
Yeah, but coming from a Florida State fan again who saw Winston, he was a good college quarterback, but then again he also had some big time weapons down there with him. I mean, he had Calvin Benjamin as a big receiver.
Well, he had big time weapons in Tampa too.
Yeah,
Godwin and Evans and Howard when Arians would let him out of the cupboard.
At the end of the day, you can't fix stupid.
Very, very true.
That's true.
But then again, you also got to think, right? Was he more designed to play at the college level just because, at the college level, you're going to get some good, you're going to get some bad, whereas at the NFL, you're going to get consistency all across the board?
Yeah. I think that's fair. I mean, you see so many guys. I mean, Tim Tebow's a pretty good example, too, of just lit it up in college and then got to the NFL, and there's a real defenses now.
So, we'll throw it over to Cam. Cam sent us a link this morning.
Yes.
For a poll from the NHL Players Association, and we'll let him take it away.
All right. So for the third straight year, the NHLPA Player Poll has been released. It's kind of good that it came out today. We needed talking points. But 600 players were surveyed on more than 20 hockey-related questions, and we'll just take it one by one. We'll go on ice, off ice, and then whatever the last category is. It's like arenas and stuff. All right. So first question, who's the best forward in the NHL? It goes 68% Connor McDavid, 14% Crosby, 6% Nathan McKinnon, and then 2% Nikita Kucherov, and and then other was 7%. What do you guys have? Any thoughts on that one? We'll just ask for thoughts as we go along.
Nothing shocking.
Yeah, Connor McDavid is by far the best forward in the NHL.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
I wish they'd have a little tab for the others. It'd be cool to see what,
the smaller percentages.
Yeah, or if someone put in joke answers. Who's the best defenseman? 37.88 for Victor Hedman, 21.35 for John Carlson, 904 for Yossi, 654 for Drew Doughty, and then 654 for Brett Burns. 18.65 were other answers.
It's pretty high, I feel.
I'm not completely shocked, but I thought Roman Yossi would have fallen a little bit further. I know he's a good defenseman, but he doesn't get a whole lot of exposure down in that Nashville market. So the fact that he got 9.4 votes, I mean, I know this all comes from the players themselves and whatnot, but I'm surprised he's up as high as he is.
This one we might have the most debate on. Who's the best goalie? Carey Price, 41.55%. Andre Vasilevsky, 17.09%. Marc-Andre Fleury, 8.93%. And then Sergei Bobrovsky, 5.63. Other votes were 28 or 26.8. I'm biased. I think Vasilevsky stinks.
Also, what is Fleury doing on there?
I think Bobrovsky stinks.
Dude, he's won 2
right
cups.
now.
How is he not on there?
He's like 50 years old. He's not as good as he used to be. He hasn't been good since he led Vegas to the Cup. I don't think he's been that good.
I don't get why Bobrovsky's on this list. He's been very, very average on that contract that he has this season.
I am, I'll be the first one to chirp Tuukka Rask, but I think Tuukka Rask is better than Marc-Andre Fleury.
So do I.
No, get out of here.
What do you mean, no?
Fleury's he's got 2 cups to his name. I know.
I don't care. Who cares? He won 2
Corey
cups
Crawford
6
has
years
3
ago.
cups, and he's frighteningly average.
I know.
Right now, bro. Right now.
Right now, yeah. Rask is gonna be a better goaltender just because he's got the most recent success. Obviously, going to the Cup final last year. But I think overall, if we're looking at it, Fleury's a better goaltender than Rask has been in his career.
I mean, with that argument, I could say Patrick Waugh is better than Marc-Andre Fleury.
Well, he is. He's in the Hall of Fame.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm just shocked that Carey Price got 41.5% of the vote.
That's a lot. Yeah,
that is a lot.
That's absurd.
That's almost half the players.
Yeah. Well, he's pretty damn good. Just he plays in Montreal.
Yeah.
Which is the problem.
No defense.
Mm-hmm. All right, what else we got, Cam?
If you needed to win one game, who was the one player, any position that you'd want on your team? Sidney Crosby, 44%. Connor McDavid, 30%. Nathan McKinnon, 4%. And then Patrice Bergeron, 3%. Other votes, 18%.
I'm actually surprised McDavid is that high.
I know he's a
next level talent, but what's he done?
Yeah, what's he won? You got to win one game. What's he won? Right. Yeah, I would agree. He's the best player in the league, but I'm a little surprised that.
I'm surprised Ovechkin wasn't high.
Well, then
wasn't on the list at all.
But then again, you got to think Ovechkin hasn't won much until 2 years ago.
I guess, but he can score like nobody's business.
Yeah, that's true.
Who's the most complete player? Sidney Crosby, 45%. Then it's Bergeron with 25. Alexander Barkov with 7, and then Ryan O'Reilly with 5%. Other percent of the vote was 16%.
Nothing crazy.
I think Crosby only gets this much love just because
he's that good.
I'm not taking anything away from Sidney Crosby, but he was hyped up. And Bergeron wasn't. Bergeron's been as consistent a player in the NHL as you can think of for his entire career.
Yep.
I mean, injuries aside, he gives you everything he's got game in and game out. And I mean, look at what he did in the 2013 Cup final. Played punctured lung, separated shoulder. And I mean, I know all hockey guys go through and do that, but I think Bergeron doesn't get as much love because he plays in Boston, and a lot of people hate Boston.
Interesting spins on.
I know, but whenever people talk about they hate Boston, Bergeron's always like the outlier. To that statement. Whenever someone says, I hate the Bruins, but Bergeron's cool.
Yeah.
Who's the game's best trash talker?
I knew this answer before
transition.
25%.
I knew this one before it even started.
Drew Doughty with 13, Ryan Reeves with 11, which isn't a surprise considering how much he pisses off Evander Kane. And then Pat Maroon with 3%. And then other vote was 45. So 45% the other vote. Not a surprise there.
Yeah.
Drew Doughty
What's
kind of surprises me.
Yeah.
I don't know
No,
why.
I remember there was
Doughty's a great
Doughty
trash
was
talker.
playing Anaheim in the Stadium Series game, and he's like, "Dude, you suck at hockey. What are you here for? You enjoy your 3 games."
Be back in the minors before you know it.
For people that are out there listening, right? Once you're done consuming today's podcast, do yourselves a favor and just search best NHL chirps. And there are videos upon videos of guys just giving it to each other as far as trash talk is concerned. And you can find yourself watching that stuff for hours. It's absolute.
The old school chirps are
It's
my
absolute
favorite.
gold.
I don't remember who it was, but my favorite one was at Brendan Smith. Go dye your hair.
Yeah.
What's
the next one, though, Cameron?
Who's the game's worst trash talker? Brad Marchand.
See, I don't know if you can award
10%
somebody
of the vote.
the best and worst trash talker.
To be fair, I think he'd be pretty proud of that.
I think you can. Well, the thing is, he talks so much that he comes up with so many good things, but he talks so much that he comes up with so many bad things too.
I think it's funny who comes in second. Go ahead, Kim.
It's Drew Doughty who comes in second. So they were both number 1 and 2 in both categories. And then it was PK Subban, who I don't know. I've never really heard anyone say he talks a lot of trash.
Well, he had
And
that thing with Crosby
Nick
in the
Cousins.
Cup final.
But that's the only thing I can remember.
Yeah.
The only other one was it was Subban, and he hit Bergeron from behind.
Oh, yeah.
And Bergeron skates by him, and he asked what was that about. And he's like, "I thought you were Marshy."
Oh, man. What else we got?
And then I don't know anything about Nick Cousins. So, of all the players past and present, who would you most like to see play? Gretzky, 31%. Bobby Orr,
can he
Mario
lift the
Lemieux.
puck?
And then 7%, Connor McDavid.
No.
So,
yeah,
it's a bit of a surprise.
McDavid getting a lot of love.
Yeah, the chosen one.
Just flies up and down the ice.
Would you like to see players' personalities expressed on their equipment, and if so, how? And then it was 40% for skates, 4% for sticks, 3% for helmet, and the overall yes/no vote was 53 to 47 yes.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I'd like to see more personalized skates.
Yeah.
Because that's probably the easiest thing you can do.
Well, I like that they've been doing it during the Winter Classic. They've been doing the customized sticks. I think that's cool. If you just I mean, these hockey stick companies have so much money now because sticks are like $500 a pop. Just have the players send you whatever they want on their stick and send it to them.
Also, I'd like the NHL. Cool. I'd also like the NHL to adopt the golden helmet, where your top scorer gets a special helmet. But that's probably never going to happen.
Bush League, Cameron.
Come
on.
They do that in the European leagues.
So
it's not in the National League.
I'm gonna sit here on the opposite side of the argument. I'm gonna say no. Just leave it to the goaltenders. I think over the course of the last 20, 25 years, with just the goaltenders being the only ones that have the customized masks, I think it's good how it is. I don't want to see it start turning into like a fashion show like you see in the NFL and stuff like that. I like how it is.
I disagree.
I get that, Ian.
I think NHL players have no marketability, and that hurts the league. So they need to do something. If I pride myself on being a big time hockey fan, but if a hockey player walked right by me, and I probably wouldn't realize who he was unless he was a big name.
I have a good story about that exact same thing. So my brother's not a huge sports guy, but over the summer I was walking to the bar with a bunch of my friends and my brothers, and Jake DeBrusk walked up by us, and I walked by and I was like, "Hey JD, what's up, man? Like, how you doing?" And we had like a nice 2-minute conversation. And then he left, and all my friends were like, "Oh my God, it was Jake DeBrusk. That's so cool." And my brother was like, "Oh, that wasn't one of your friends?" And I was like, "No, that was a Bruins player." He was like, "Oh, okay." So it's like if like Tom Brady, well, like Tom Brady's an extreme example, but like an NFL player or somebody walked by, it's like it's completely different compared to the NHL.
And then the last one on the on-ice question was, who was the best female hockey player in the world? 39% for Marie-Philippe Poulin, and then
Marie-Philippe Poulin. Get it right.
Thank you, buddy. Well, you're the PA guy.
Yeah, it's your job to get it right.
And I also have
36%.
some French background, so that's why I get it.
36% for Hillary Knight, 15% for Kendall Coyne Schofield, and then 1% for Emily Matheson. I don't know much about women's hockey, so I'm not the right guy to ask.
Yeah. I know Kendall Coyne Schofield.
Because she did that awesome All-Star game thing.
Yeah, Hillary Knight's like probably the most well-known U.S. women's hockey player. And then I know Poulan just based off playing Canada.
All right, off ice. Would you be in favor of relaxing team or game day dress code similar to the NBA? 73% said yes.
I like when they wear the suits, though. It's been getting fun watching the players get creative.
I like Pasta's got some serious style, and you know when he shows up to a game in a suit and he's got that hat that goes with it and ties it all together. You know you're getting at least 2 goals out of him.
Especially this year. I mean, Christ, come on.
Who's the funniest player in the NHL? Keith Yandel.
Sonk.
And an Uber driver favorite, by the way. Right, what? Connor? Wasn't it Yandel? No.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It was Yandel, yeah. Drew Doughty, again. Brad Marchand, again. And then, not a surprise, Phil Kessel with 4% of the vote.
Hot dogs.
Phil.
There's a great clip. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. It's someone put together an off the puck Bergeron highlight package a couple of years ago, and Bergeron strips Kessel with a puck, and he goes, F you, Bergie. Who has the best bromance in the league? David Perron, Ryan O'Reilly with 6%, Brett Burns and Joe Thornton with 5%, Matthews and Marner with 4%, and then Matthew Tkachuk and Drew Doughty with 3%, which is funny.
Wait, Matthew who?
Matthew Tkachuk.
Who?
Tkachuk.
There we go. Okay.
Jamie Benn and Tyler Sagan, and then Marchand and Bergeron is last on the list.
Is Perron and O'Reilly like a known bromance? It must be in the NHL.
I guess.
I didn't
never
know
heard of it until now.
I don't follow the Blues, so.
Yeah.
Who's the best follow on social media? Subban, Ovechkin, Marchand, and then Max Domi.
Roberto, this must be current, but Roberto Luongo was a good follow.
Strong bone.
Well, also Biz is up there, I would say, too.
Oh, yeah.
I bet they just mean active players.
They must mean active, yeah.
Which player isn't on social media but should be? Sidney Crosby, Joe Thornton, Tyler Ennis, and Jay Bouwmeester.
Bergie isn't on social media either. I'd like to see what Bergeron has to say.
I'm surprised Crosby doesn't have a Twitter.
Oh, wait, going back to the player on social media, I'm surprised Marchand's not on there.
He was.
Marchand and Krug have some pretty – he was, sorry.
Yeah, he was like 3 or 4.
Yeah. Marchand and Krug have some pretty fun convos going back and forth on Twitter.
True.
Who is the best nickname? Number one, I've never even heard of. Thomas Tuna Tatar. Never heard of that one.
It's a good one.
David Pasta Pasternak. Arteri Breadman Panarin. I always call him the Breadman. So.
The Breadman.
And then Christian Stinky Fischler.
Wonder what that means.
Yeah. They should probably start calling Tuca that after they've been roasting him this week.
How crazy was that?
I got an alert on
NHL.com, man. That's brutal.
I got an alert from my CBS Sports app sent me an alert yesterday, and it was like NHL Bruins something about Tuukka Rask farting. I'm like, this is what I'm getting push alerts now on my push notification.
Yeah, right. That's the world we're in.
Yep. I was just going to – Connor, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say that's the world that we live in now, where you get alerts to your phone that Tuukka Rask has stinky chicken wing farts.
Oh, gross.
And then the last question in the off-ice category, who's the best golfer among the players? It goes Joe Pavelski, Tyler Bozak, Justin Schultz, Cal Clutterbuck, Mark Stone, and Greg McKegg.
Joe Pa is not surprising.
Let's see.
What a hockey name. Greg
Let's see.
McKegg.
Pavelski never made it far in the playoffs. Bozak didn't make it far for a while. You know, that makes sense.
Yep.
All right. Final arenas and teams. Best visitors dressing room, Rogers Place, Edmonton Oilers, T-Mobile Arena, Vegas Golden Knights, Little Caesars Arena, Detroit Red Wings, and then the PPG Paints Arena for Pittsburgh.
All those arenas are like brand new.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, PPG's been around for a while.
I think the Bruins got worse dressing room last year, didn't they? The worst visitors dressing room.
It wouldn't surprise me. They're tiny.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I guess that's the whole mind games.
It could be that at least at one point it was like this, and it might still be the same. I think they're in 2 different rooms. Like I think the 4s and the D have to be in different rooms because they're almost
it's like Merrimack.
Yeah.
So,
do they have a gate stuck up in between? Do they have to like use the chain and roll?
Yeah.
which team has the best jersey? Chicago, Vegas,
Absolutely.
Toronto, and then New York.
I'm surprised Montreal's not up there.
I don't agree with Vegas being up as high.
Me neither.
I like them, but I think the original 6 uniforms have to be
Classic.
up there. I mean,
I love Toronto's unis.
They've been around for so long.
Chicago is far and away is the best.
Absolutely, Chicago has the best uniforms in hockey, and I'll take that to the grave. That is, I love the red, but there's enough contrast with the white and black striping, both on the sleeve and down below along the waist. But that Chief Blackhawk, such a great logo.
Timeless.
Such a great logo.
Which arena has the best ice? The TD Garden. No. The Bell Center, 31%. Rogers Place, 16%. Bell MTS Place, 11%. And then the T-Mobile Arena, actually.
We almost got 8%. All
8%.
Canadian rinks.
Well, the Bell MTS Place doesn't surprise me because they play in the middle of Manitoba, and it's always like 40 degrees below
It doesn't
zero.
dip above 45 degrees in Manitoba.
They don't even need a refrigeration system. They just open the door.
Yeah.
That's what we did as well. There's a great Simpsons quote, and it's, "Welcome to Winnipeg. We were born here. What's your excuse?" And then best mascot is the last one on the list.
Wonder who it's going to be.
Gritty, 69% of the vote. Then it's Nash, Howler, Bailey, and Youppi.
No Blades.
I think it's BS. Youppi is much better than Gritty.
Youppi is the only mascot that's ever been thrown out of a Major League Baseball game.
It's true. It's true. Who is the coach?
Tommy Lasorda.
Lasorda.
Yeah.
Yep. That was
classic.
Yeah.
So there's your NHLPA player poll.
Thank you, Cameron.
No problem.
Getting back to the ice, I'm not surprised. I mean, the Bell Center, those guys. So I went up there 2 years ago for. I went up to Montreal for a spring break, but it was like 30 degrees below zero, so it wasn't actually a spring break. You know, most people go south to get warm weather. I went north. But those guys come out and drive the Zambonis in full on suits.
Keep it classy.
They wear suit and ties to come out and drive the Zambonis and redo the ice.
I love that.
Respect for the ice.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised, but yeah, that's
the Bull Gang comes out on TD Garden.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which, you know, Mike, have you been to any NHL arenas for like an NHL game aside from TD Garden?
Yeah, I've been in Toronto and Florida. Are the two most random ones. Yeah, Florida was actually seeing an exhibition game. When I was in college, we went down to see the Patriots play the Dolphins, and the Bruins were playing the Panthers in an exhibition game. I think it was the Friday or the Saturday. So we went and checked that out, and then I went to Toronto. We did a road trip to Toronto to see the Bruins and Maple Leafs 10 years ago.
Okay.
Sat in the very last possible row.
Whatever gets
the
you in the
very last
building,
row of the building, but we were in the building, yeah. So it didn't matter.
That's kind of like me. I've been to the Bell Center and I've been to the United Center as well in Chicago. I went out to the 2006 Frozen Four in Milwaukee, and on the day in between the semifinals and finals, it was myself, my father, uncle, and grandfather. We went into Chicago for the day. Walked around Wrigley for opening day when they played the Cardinals and whatnot. Got to tour U.S. Cellular Field, and then that night we went to a Blackhawks-Oilers game, and Nikolai Hobby-Bulin was the goaltender for the
nice.
Game. That's how.
Yeah, Bulin Wall.
I was excited. I was supposed to go to my first other rink, and then we all got quarantined. Supposed to go to Capital One Arena in Washington to see Capitals Blackhawks, and then Not traveling now.
Yeah.
Plus the game got canceled.
I've only ever been to 2 other. Well, one for hockey, one for basketball. I went to the old Continental Airlines Arena to watch a Nets Celtics game.
Jeez.
Back in 2003. And then my first NHL game, it was Flyers Islanders, and my dad had box seats.
Were you in
That was
Philly?
real fun.
Were you on the
Not a big deal.
It was in Philly, yeah. Wells Fargo Center.
That's unfortunate.
What was it called? The Comcast or whatever?
Yeah.
Comcast.
That, or it was also
The
called the
Wachovia? No, the
Center?
Wachovia Center. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that
Actually,
was a lot of fun.
when I was a kid too, I forgot to add because it's not an NHL rink anymore. I probably went to like 4 or 5 Bruins Whaler games when I was a
At
kid.
the old Civic Center?
Nice.
At the old Civic Center, yeah. I get every time I drive down for a Merrimack Yukon game, I'm like, oh, I used to park in this garage. That's right. And you walk over, it's like I know the exact. I think my dad had a friend or worked with somebody or did business with somebody who had seats down there because we sat in the same exact section, and I don't remember what the number was, but every time I'm in the building, I look in the corner, I go, it was the first row of that section right on the aisle. It was those exact seats.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. I will say one thing, though. If you're going to go to the United Center, don't make a phone call in the middle of the period because if the Blackhawks score, you're not going to be able to hear jack squat. That goal blasts you into next week. It was unbelievable. We were calling home to, wish families and whatnot good night, and all of a sudden the Blackhawks decided they were going to score a goal. And I couldn't hear anything. It was insane how loud that goal horn is. So what do you fellas say we get set to wrap this up with our bag of fun question of the week, the quarantine?
All right.
Say?
Well, y'all, who's taking it? Who's got it? Me or Cameron?
We'll go.
Depends.
All right, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 5. Connor.
4.
Nope.
3.
Nope.
1.
Yep. Oh, but you both answered 1.
I said it first.
I said it first.
Who's older? We'll do that. Who's older?
I'm older than he is.
Okay. Well, sorry, Connor. Cameron, take it away.
There's a shocker bag of fun from Cameron. Ready? Bag of fun, bag of fun. Everybody's ready for the bag of fun. Question of the night. Cameron, what do we got?
All right. So I've been looking around recently trying to find things to watch. And someone's had a poll up on Reddit, and it's every single playoff, and it's what's the best Game 7 from a particular year? Well, I'm going to flip that on its head, guys. What's the worst Game 7 you guys have ever watched?
Oh, from Cameron, we're getting this question? What a shock.
A negativity question?
What a shock.
Well, everyone always talks about the best games they've ever seen. Let's flip it on its head a little bit.
I
have an
need
answer.
more negativity right now, Cameron, all right? There's no sports. There's nothing going on. I don't need more of it.
You're just upset because you don't have an answer, do you?
All
do. I very much do. We'll go around the line.
Who's taking
I'll
it
take
first?
it first.
Yeah, you take it first since it's your question.
So the worst Game 7 I've ever had the displeasure of watching was I don't know if you guys remember. It was 2015. It was Islanders versus the Capitals in Washington. The Islanders had like 11 shots all game, and the play was just horrible from both sides, even though the Capitals had like 35 or 36 shots. And then Kuznetsov scored like a stupid goal that the defense got caught out of position for, and so did the goalie. So all I had to do was put it in, and I'm like, the game ended, and I'm like, I really spent 3 hours of my time watching this. I could have done something so much better with my time. So that's the worst Game 7 I've ever seen. If you get the chance to watch it,
Game 7 you've ever seen.
Yeah, like the play was horrible, and it was just garbage. I mean, another one I could think of was what was it? Washington versus New York in 2013. The final score was like 7-0 New York.
I remember that one.
It was like Aaron Asham scored the game winner. Yeah, the Capitals were blown out in their own building again.
That was
a pretty garbage game.
The worst
Yeah.
experience you've ever had in a Game 7 at 2
No, I said
Islanders games?
yeah.
I to be honest, Cam, I would have expected a little bit better of an answer from you.
Look, there's the obvious answer, and you guys can have that.
All right, Connor.
Well, I mean,
Because if I stole the obvious answer, you two jamokes would have nothing to talk about.
No, see, there's more than one.
yeah, we are educated here, Cameron. You know, we can adapt and go with the flow here.
Okay.
Go ahead, Connor.
I mean, I'll take the obvious one. I mean, last year, Game 7 is the obvious answer. I mean, we're coming one game away, and then basically, we made fun of Vancouver for years, and then the same thing happened to us. At least we scored, though. We scored a goal.
Yeah.
We have that. But
a goal I still haven't seen.
And, that's a whole other topic.
The best highlight was the Torrey Krug hit.
I was there. I was at that game. That was great. And, what I will say is I will never go to a bar for a big game ever again because that was awful. That's all I got.
Mike, worst game 7 you've ever experienced. You probably have a little bit more of an in-depth look at Game 7s and histories, given that you're just a couple.
What are you trying to say, Ian?
I'm the old guy.
Oh, you're the grizzled vet.
There you go.
Yes.
I like that better. That better. Don't pay attention to the gray at the bottom of my beard at all. The worst experience watching a Game 7 by far was the 03 ALCS.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Only because I was a sophomore at Merrimack.
Oh wow.
Yeah, 03, 04. I was a sophomore. And we were watching with a group of like 20 guys crammed into a room in Monacan, and I was so convinced and so confident they were winning that game. I was supremely confident that they were winning that game. And then Boone's home run goes over the fence and left. We all everyone went outside. It was almost like they won. Everybody gathered outside, like 400 people, like 400 kids.
Yeah.
All gathered outside, and nobody knew what to do. We all just stood around and looked at each other, and it's like, well, now what? Like nobody knew what to do because they had that whole playoff was unbelievable. The series against Oakland was unreal, where they won in 5 games, and then definitely 03 because I was so convinced they were winning that game.
Something to note quickly before you go here, Ian, is to go off watching championship games at Merrimack. Is this was the first year for our 4 years at Merrimack, the Patriots were not in the Super Bowl.
Oh,
very true.
Yeah,
it's the first Super Bowl at Merrimack where the Patriots weren't in it.
And then
I was
we all
really
got
hoping
quarantined.
we
I
were
think
going to
there's
go
a
all
coincidence.
4 years that the Patriots weren't going to be in it. No, I think the quarantine and all this is because the Bruins were standing up by themselves. Ever since that, everything's turned around. All right, you're up, Ian.
I got there's a couple that haven't been mentioned, and I'm surprised, especially from you, Connor. Going back, the 2010 Game 7 against the Flyers.
I didn't watch that game.
That series shouldn't have even have gotten to Game 7.
That was brutal.
And it shouldn't have even gotten to the point where the Bruins blew a 3-0 lead in that series.
Yeah.
And then let's not forget the Carolina series that was Game 7.
I was there for that one.
I cried that night.
And then how about the Capitals series, Game 7?
That wasn't that bad.
Where Joel Ward scored in overtime. There's
Yeah.
a couple of Game 7s there that haven't been mentioned. So
That 2012 Bruins team wasn't good, though. That's the thing.
I'm looking at it as far. We'll go back.
But
And,
Holtby was a rookie, and he comes in and
Yeah.
shuts you down. It's like, oh, what are we doing here? We won the cup last year, and you let this rookie come in and beat you.
but
I guess that's the –
Oddly enough, the 2010 one against the Flyers almost didn't even bother me because I was the complete opposite. 03 with the Red Sox, I was supremely confident they were going to win that game.
yeah.
2010 against the Flyers, when they went up 3-0, I looked at my wife and I went, it would be appropriate that they blow a 3-0 lead in the game to blow a 3-0 lead in the series. And then they
Bada boom.
did, and I looked across the couch and I was like, yeah, told you. Like just flip the channel.
I had a Little League game that night.
Mm.
I was playing Little League, and I asked my dad before the game, and I'm like, Dad, what's the score? And he's like, oh, it's 3-0 Bruins. And I'm like, oh, great. Well, we stumbled,
Celebrate
but we'll
after.
move on. And the game ends, and I hadn't asked at all. We're leaving I'm getting in the car, and I'm like, oh, Dad, what's the score of the Bruins game? And he's like, it's 4-3 Flyers. And I'm like, wait, how'd that happen? And then they lost, and I was like, damn.
Yeah, that
one didn't bother me much either because it sucked then, but they won the cup the next year, sweeping the Flyers. So, like, I guess you had to lose to win.
That one still hurts me. I still can't watch highlights from that one.
You guys are not watching highlights. Man up.
Yeah, what?
Well, I look at it, right, and you look at the playoffs, right? If the Bruins went on to beat,
They would have played the
They would have
Canadians.
played
They would have
Montreal.
played Montreal. It would have been Bruins Montreal for a right to go to the Stanley Cup final. One, that would have been great. And then two, you could have played Chicago. And I really think the Bruins could have beaten that Chicago team. They were good, don't get me wrong.
The Bruins weren't that
The only
good.
reason why the Blackhawks
the 08-09 team was much better.
No, the only reason why the Blackhawks won the Stanley Cup that year is because they were playing Philadelphia, and Philadelphia hasn't been good or competitive in hockey since the 70s when they last won their cup.
Was that the year the Bruins scored? It was like the league's least amount of goals or something that year. Or am I just remembering
I wouldn't doubt
incorrectly?
it. That team
I just
was
feel
not
like they
very
had
good.
no goal scorer. They had Miroslav Shatan was like their highest goal scorer that year.
Yeah,
2010.
Whoa, okay. Breaking news. Governor Baker extends closures of non-all-essential businesses till May 4th. That just came over.
May
4th.
Oh,
Okay.
boy. All right, well,
Ready for the long
On
haul,
that
fellas.
so hold on. We're just before we get out of here, I'm looking at the roster for that 2009-10
Did
Bruins team.
anybody score more than 25 goals?
Hold on.
On that team?
I don't think.
Trying to think. Probably not Recchi. Was Savard healthy still?
All right,
Maybe
hold on.
him.
So team
That was the year he got hurt.
I think so, yeah.
The Bruins that year. Oh wow, they only had 39 wins that year.
Yeah.
Yeah, the team wasn't good.
Yeah, but still, I still think they could have beaten Montreal.
Well, they won the President's Trophy also the year prior. So
Their leading goal scorer with 22 goals was Marco Sturm.
wow. Okay.
22 goals.
Oof. Pasternak had that before Christmas.
Yeah.
I think you might have had it before Thanksgiving.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but no, okay. So that that Flyers one still hurts me. That Carolina one still hurts me because Scott Walker shouldn't have even been playing in that game.
That's true.
That one hurts me.
So Mike, before we wrap it up, I was at that Carolina game. I was sitting right up behind the Carolina goal during overtime. So I was at the spot where the Bruins shot twice. But Scott Walker scores and everyone's leaving, and I'm like a stupid kid. I'm like 11 at this point.
Still are.
I mean, I'm still stupid now, but I was stupid back then too. But everyone's quiet in the elevator, and little Cam goes, "There's always next year." And thank God I was a kid because I would have got my ass beat.
Yeah,
and nobody would have stopped it.
How times have changed too. After Game 7 this year, like good luck talking to Cameron 3 weeks after.
Oh, Brady's wearing number 12. Confirmed.
Shocker.
Really? Like Chris Godwin had any business wearing number 12 with Tom Brady going down there to play?
I wanted that to be a fight, though. I wanted that to be like
great.
so bad, just because it would have been something to talk about.
So I saw something last night on Twitter, and I don't know if you can attest to this, Mike, but one of my buddies tagged me something online, and he was like, I've started putting Madden on computer versus computer sim to just get some sort of watching sports kind of feel. I might start doing that with NHL online.
I told my dad we hooked up a super long HDMI cord to the TV upstairs because our TV is like new, but it doesn't have any of the internet capabilities anymore because it's discontinued. And I'm like, Dad, you can just put on MLB The Show and you can watch a game. You can put on the video game and just watch it.
Oh,
like,
God.
That'd be something.
Oh.
Just a
All
tough
right.
time.
What do you think that about
I think that about wraps it up.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, thanks again for joining us. You know,
Yeah, no problem.
Everyone on your end stays healthy and sane during all this.
Yeah.
And 6 feet apart, right? You know,
Exactly.
Social distancing.
so
Exactly.
A hockey stick apart.
we do appreciate you joining us, and just once again for those out there, just tell people they can find you on Twitter and online.
Mike McMahon, CHN on Twitter. You can find all the stuff at College Hockey News and MacReport.com. That's pretty much where you'll find me.
For the rest good to get another voice on here.
Yeah, absolutely. For the rest of us, you can follow us on Twitter at Titletown_takes, at Ian Beau, at Connor Powell 8, and at Cam Urbowicz 32. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button on YouTube to get notifications when our latest and greatest podcast episode hits the airwaves. We appreciate everybody listening and tuning in. For my co-hosts, Connor Powell and Cam Urbowicz, and for our guest, Mike McMahon, my name's Ian Beauchesne. Lights out. Good night.
Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it. New York, New York. These vagabond shoes are longing to stray right through the very heart of it. New York, New York. I want to wake up in a city that doesn't sleep and find I'm king of the hill, top of the heap. These little town blues are melting away.